Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. This is Abu Ahmed Chaudhary and welcome to Ionic chemistry class. Today we are going to complete the rest of the chapter which was ionic bonding. So let's not delay anymore and let's begin. So we have learned in the previous video, in the previous class, we have learned that how does an ionic bond forms and how does it actually looks like, and I have explained in detail. So those who haven't watched the previous video, please watch the previous video to understand better. But still I'm gonna give a short review on the last class, that atoms of elements joins to form compound. The atoms are together by bonds. The atoms are together by bonds. It is sometimes possible to see these bonds using a special microscope called an atomic force microscope. Atoms of elements join to form compounds. It means that এটা দ্বারা বোঝাচ্ছে যে বিভিন্ন এলিমেন্টের অ্যাটমগুলো একত্রিত হয় একটা কম্পাউন্ড তৈরি করার জন্য, এবং এই অ্যাটমগুলো একটা স্পেসিফিক বন্ড দ্বারা একত্রিত হয়। এই স্পেসিফিক বন্ডগুলো আইদার আয়নিক বন্ডিং, না হলে কোভালেন্ট বন্ডিং, না হলে মেটালিক বন্ডিং, and there may be many other bondings, right? So these bondings are not seeable, means we cannot see this bonding or we cannot see any atoms with our naked eyes. With our bare eye, we need a specific microscope which is called atomic force microscope, by which we can see an atom. Now we have learned that in ionic bonding, one atom loses an outer electron altogether to a different atom. This happens if the pull from another nucleus is so strong that it pulls an electron of the other atom. এটা যেন বোঝানো হচ্ছে যে, অথবা বোঝানোর চেষ্টা করেছিলাম যে আয়নিক বন্ডিংটা তৈরি হয় কিভাবে। একটা অ্যাটমের গেইনিং এবং লুজিং এর উপর ডিপেন্ড করে একটা আয়নিক বন্ডিং তৈরি হয়। এই আয়নিক বন্ডিংটা যখন তৈরি হবে, একটা অ্যাটম করবে কি, একটা অ্যাটম একটা ইলেকট্রনকে লুজ করবে, একটা এলিমেন্টের একটা অ্যাটম একটা ইলেকট্রনকে লুজ করবে, আরেকটা এলিমেন্টের আরেকটা অ্যাটম সেটাকে গেইন করবে। এই গেইনিং এবং লুজিংটা হয় কারণ যেই অ্যাটমটা একটা ইলেকট্রন লুজ করছে সেটার নিউক্লিয়াস এবং সেটা যে অ্যাটমটা লুজ করছে সেটার মধ্যে অ্যাট্রাকশন কম মানে আন্তরিকতা কম, which means that there is a low electronic force of attraction, electrostatic force of attraction. There is a low electrostatic force of attraction between the nucleus and the atom, and that atom which gains an electron, the electrostatic force is so high that it pulls that lost electron. যেমন সাপোজ কি বলা যায়, কেউ কাউকে বাসা থেকে তাড়িয়ে দিল, ধরো এক ভাড়াটিয়াকে এক বাড়িওয়ালা বাসা থেকে তাড়িয়ে দিল। এই ভাড়াটিয়াকে আবার অন্য একজন অ্যালাউ করলো তার বাসায় থাকতে। ওই যে ভাড়াটিয়াকে বের করে দিয়েছে, এখানে ভাড়াটিয়া হচ্ছে অ্যাটমের ইলেকট্রনটার মতন, আর যেই মালিক যে বের করে দিয়েছে সে হচ্ছে অ্যাটম, আর নিউক্লিয়াসটা এখানে হচ্ছে তোমার ওদের বাসাটা, বাড়িওয়ালার বাসাটা হচ্ছে অ্যাটমের নিউক্লিয়াস। আর আরেকটা অ্যাটম, which means that another owner of another house, the second house, that is another nucleus, and the owner is that atom. The owner is that atom, and the owner approved that electron, which means that the tenant to stay at his home. This is an example. So let me write the definition, or let me write it briefly for you guys. In ionic bonding, one atom loses an outer electron altogether. In ionic bonding, one atom loses an outer electron altogether to a different atom. Full stop. This happens if the pool, rest of the will be continued. First write this thing. Please write this thing as your notes, as it will help you to understand the chapter better, or it will give you a basic idea about what an ionic bonding is and how does it work. In ionic bonding, one atom loses an outer electron altogether to a different atom. This happens if the pool is this line will be continued from the pool. This line will be continued from the pool. From one nucleus is so strong that it pulls an electron of the other atom. From one nucleus is so strong that it pulls an electron of the other atom. From one nucleus is so strong that it pulls an electron of the other atom. Full stop. So the whole thing is that in ionic bonding, one atom loses an outer electron altogether. In ionic bonding, one atom loses an outer electron altogether to a different atom. This happens if the pull from one nucleus is so strong. This happens if the pull from one nucleus is so strong that it pulls an electron of the other atom. As I said in the previous class, that all the atoms or all the elements idealize the group 8 elements or the group 0 elements, as we know that the group 0 elements or the group 8 elements are known as noble gases, and they does not react as they have full number of outer shell electrons. As they have full number of outer shell electrons, they do not consider or they do not have any tension to either bond or lose or gain any kind of electrons. They are completely happy with whatever they have. But from group 1 to group 7, all the elements of all the atoms of all the elements idealize the group 8 elements. They will either gain or lose electrons to have full outer shell like group 8 elements. So now let's learn the definition of ionic bonding. Ionic bond is a type of linkage. Ionic bond is a type of linkage formed from the electrostatic force of attraction, between oppositely charged ions in a compound. It's the same thing I just said a few minutes ago, that ionic bond is basically nothing except a strong electrostatic force of attraction between the positive ion and the negative ion. We have known that opposite charges attract each other and opposite directions also attract each other. Like in a magnet, north and south will attract each other, north and north will repel. In the same way, an electron with an ion with a positive charge will repel another ion with a positive charge. An ion with a positive charge will repel another ion with positive charge, and an ion with a positive charge will always attract an ion with a negative charge. It's the same concept. They work in the same principle, but the things are different. Here we will say charge, and there we will say directions. That's all. Let me write the official definition of what an ionic bonding is. Ionic bond is a type of linkage. Ionic bond is a type of linkage formed from the electrostatic. Ionic bond is a type of linkage formed from the electrostatic attraction between opposite charged ions. formed from electrostatic attraction, formed from the electrostatic. Let me repeat the first part again. Ionic bond is a type of linkage. Ionic bond is a type of linkage formed from the electrostatic. Ionic bond is a type of linkage formed from the electrostatic. Electrostatic attraction between oppositely charged ions. Electrostatic attraction between oppositely charged ions. Let me repeat it one more time, then I will repeat the whole definition one more time, and if someone missed anything, please pause the video and reverse the video and please write it or take an essay wherever you think it's necessary. I hope you guys are writing it. Electrostatic attraction between electrostatic attraction between oppositely charged ions. Electrostatic attraction between oppositely charged ions. So the whole definition is ionic bond is a type of linkage. Ionic bond is a type of linkage formed from the electrostatic attraction. Formed from the electrostatic attraction between oppositely charged ions. Between oppositely charged ions. In ionic bonding, the atom that loses electron becomes a positively charged ion, and we call it a cation, while the one that gains an electron becomes a negatively charged ion, we call it anion. Let me write it. In ionic bonding, the atom that loses electron is called a positively charged ion, cation. In ionic bonding, the atom that loses electron is called a positively charged ion, cation. Cation is the scientific name of the positively charged ion. We call positively charged ion for better understanding, but the cation is the official name. For example, we all have an official name and a pet name. So think that cation is the official name and positively charged ion is the pet name. For example, if someone's name is Muhammad Abdul Karim, if someone's official name is Abdul Karim, what we call the official name? The official name is that name which we use outside of our home, for example in schools or in any kind of job applications or everywhere else. And the pet name is that which we are called at home. For example, from Abdul Rahim to Abdul Rahim or Abdul or Rahim. Just only these things are pet names. So in that way, positively charged ion is the pet name and cation is the official name. Full stop. It's the first part of it. So take an SS or please write it on your note copy. In ionic bonding, the atom that loses electron is called a positively charged ion, cation. C-A-A-T-I-O-N, cation. Cation means that atom that loses electron is called positively charged ion. Cation is that official name of that ion that loses an electron. Now, why it becomes positive, I will explain later on that why it becomes a positively charged ion and why the electron or why the atom that gains an electron has become a negatively charged ion. So let me first write the second half, then I will explain. The reason I wrote cation in bracket comma is that to make you guys understand that this line will be continued from the previous line. It will be continued from the same line. Instead of giving full stop after cation, give a comma and write while the atom that gains electron, while the atom that gains electron is called negatively charged ion, anion, while the atom that gains electron is called negatively charged ion, anion. Negatively charged ion, anion. It is the same thing. Anion is the official name and negatively charged ion is the pet name. We say negatively charged ion and the positively charged ion to or for our better understanding. And anion and cation is the official name that we have to write. Please take these things as notes, as it will help you to understand the chapter better. Now I'm going to explain that why that atom that gains electron becomes negatively charged and why the atom that loses electron becomes positively charged. Let's just think that in the very beginning the number of protons and the number of electrons in an atom is the same. So let me write it. See, initially the number of protons and the electrons in an atom is constant, means it's the same. They have the same number of protons and the same number of electrons. For example, in hydrogen, before hydrogen is bonding with any other element, it has the same number of protons and the same number of electrons. It has plus 1 proton and minus 1 electron. See, it has only 1 proton and 1 electron. The number of protons and the number of electrons are same. And when hydrogen is bonding with any other atom, 1 electron is being lost. Hydrogen is losing 1 electron. If hydrogen loses 1 electron, the number of protons will be same, but the number of electrons decreases. So the overall charge becomes plus 1. That's why it said that when an atom loses an electron, it becomes positively charged ion. Let me complete the sentence for you guys. Please write these things as notes. But the number of electrons decreases, for which the overall charge becomes plus 1, and this is applicable for all the losing electron atoms. This is applicable for every time. For example, if an atom has number of protons which is plus 7 and the number of electron is minus 7, and if an electron is lost, if that atom gives out 1 electron to another atom, so how many number of electrons are there? There are total number of electrons. Now there are minus 6. And how many number of protons are there? The number of protons are plus 7. So plus 7 minus 6, which is equals to positive 1. So the charge plus 1 is constant for every atom that loses an electron, and same things happen with vice versa happens with all the atoms that gains electron. When an atom gains an electron, the number of protons remains the same, but the number of electrons increases, for which the overall charge becomes minus 1. I hope you guys can write this thing. Just write the same things, instead of writing increases, write the decreases, and instead of writing decreases, write the increases. For example, the thing will be like this, that when an atom gains an electron, the number of protons remains the same. But the number of electrons changes, or the number of electrons increases, for which the overall charge becomes minus 1. Now, ions are formed when atoms or group of atoms lose or gain electrons. They carry an electrical charge, either positive or negative. Compounds are electrically neutral. Why compounds are electrically neutral? As they have the same number of protons and the same number of neutrons. They have the same number of positive ion and the same number of negative ion. So the total positive charge cancels out the total negative charge. At a compound H2O কেন neutral? কারণ H2O এর মধ্যে same number of positive ion আছে এবং সেম নাম্বার অফ নেগেটিভ আয়ন আছে, যেটার কারণে টোটাল পজিটিভ আয়ন করে কি টোটাল নেগেটিভ আয়নকে ক্যান্সেল করে দেয়। সো প্লাস টোটাল নাম্বার অফ প্লাস, ফর এক্সাম্পল +7 -7 equals to 0. That's the thing happens here. Now ionic bonding always occurs between a metal and a non-metal. It's must. Ionic bonding will always happen between a metal and a non-metal. In simpler words, an ionic bonding results from a transfer of electrons from a metal to a non-metal in order to obtain a valence shell for both atoms. এটা দ্বারা বোঝানো হচ্ছে যে এটা সর্বদা এটা মনে রাখবা যে একটা মেটাল থেকে একটা ইলেকট্রন লুজ করবে যখন একটা নন মেটাল সেটা গেইন করবে, সেটাই হচ্ছে আয়নিক বন্ডিং। আর দোনোটাই গেইন অথবা লুজ করে একটা ফুল আউটার শেল গেইন করতে চাচ্ছে ফর লাইক group 8 elements. So that's all for today, and I hope we will meet in the next class. So assalamu alaikum everyone, and if you love the video, so like the video.